on my property. You didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
You know what would help is if I actually put my camera on when I did this. I mean, you know what? As my college baseball coach once told me, guys, act like you've been there before. We were in our first regional championship, and he looked at all of us, and we're all godsmacked because there's a bunch of freshmen on the team. And he stared at all of us like, gentlemen, listen, you got to act like you've been there before, okay? This is not your first time at the show, and you got to pretend that you know what you're doing, all right? How are you guys all doing tonight? This is a Last Minute Live. You know who I am. My name is Thomas Ahrens, Fishing the DMV. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me know in the chats. Are you sneaking away from your family, your children, your wife? Is this a little bit of your only time away from your responsibilities? Happy Hump Day, happy Wednesday. And for all of you individuals that have Friday off, because it is Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day to you for having a 3-day weekend. And also happy Veterans Day to everyone that served. We really respect everything you've done and sacrificed for this country. Today I am literally winging it. I'm going to get right into the nuts and bolts of it. I spit my gum out here. I was on a run tonight, had a interesting night off, and I had an epiphany that I really need to update the channel on what's been going on behind the scenes besides just the Fishing the DMV podcast. And also, my feathers got a little ruffled. I was listening to a podcast. I think you guys know the podcast. It's called BTL or Bass Talk Live. And the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Jeffries was back on the show. He did I would say an after hours kind of thing. He was really promoting his bowling team at the high school that he's at. Please go over there, like and subscribe to Bass Talk Live. Mark Jeffries is really a huge inspiration to me. He's the reason I really kind of started this whole thing. He gave me the courage to kind of do it. Anyway, long story short is he was talking about the MLF, and he had an open mic night. And some of the people that he got on his show ruffled me a little bit when it came to the MLF and what has been going on with MLF with all their changes. And I kind of wanted to talk about that tonight because I have a platform so I can do that. And I can basically, this is my therapy session to all of you. My wife doesn't like it when I talk to her about fishing. I don't have a lot of people where I live right now that I can just bump into at Safeway and be like, well, how's your day? Well, let me tell you about what's going on in the fishing industry, Deborah. No one cares. At work, it's like when Steve is like, so how was your day? Steve, let me tell you what MLF and Bass did, because I know you're going to care about this. And it's like, I don't know. You're a psychopath. Please get away from me. I get that. Okay, cool. No problem. So I know that was a huge tangent there where that went. Anyway, so let's just start with the housekeeping stuff, and then we can go into kind of like my MLF rant, and then we're going to be done for the night. Tonight's going to be a real quickie, by the way, guys. It's going to be a real quickie. Again, get to your messages in the chat. I'll try to get to all of them. Holy crap. I already have messages. Let's see. Jesus, this guy wrote a paper. Brandon Solis, however I say your name. When are you going to release another Hidden Gems episode? You haven't released a lot of tips and tricks videos lately or fishing adventures. Either way, love the podcast. Keep up the great work. All righty. Dagger to the old heart already. My goodness, guys. Good Lord. Hell yeah. You didn't spell that right, but okay. Ryan S. You're copying him, but you put exclamation points in there. That's pretty cool. Hell yeah. I like that. And let's see. What is your favorite bait to throw the Shenandoah River? Okay, cool. Getting up to date on all this stuff. I missed the winning NV KBA championship length by 4 inches, bro. We're going to get into that tonight too. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. And then my guess, the winning length, that is, we're going to get into that too. So, all right. Actually, Brandon kind of hit the nail on the head with the questions there. So what's been going on with fishing the DMV and all this stuff? We right now are the #1 podcast when it comes to fishing in the greater DMV metropolitan area. We are it. We are the shit. We are growing like lightning. Great job. That's all amazing. We're doing amazing on that front there. Why have I not uploaded other things? So what you guys don't know is this is not my only business. I owned another business. Backing up. This summer, I was going to school full time for my MBA. I started a brand new job with the government, and I was closing down a business that I had for about 16 years, something like that. So I had all three things starting basically simultaneously in July of this year. And this, which was something that I've been really passionate about, it was growing at exponential rates. So I had to stop doing as many other videos besides the podcast episodes themselves. As you guys know, this is not a complaint. I'm just telling you that, like, right now, I am doing everything. I schedule, I edit, I shoot, I research, I put out all the episodes, I find new guests, I do all that myself. So with that and doing my MBA program, starting a brand new job, and then closing down my other job because I was always working in the springtime. I was working 3 jobs, by the way. I just didn't have the time. Roll forward. So my other business will be completely shut down in December, which will open up a little bit more time. And another factor was then we have no working vehicles. Starting in October, all of our vehicles broke down at the same time. So I couldn't tow my boat or my kayak anywhere. So it was just fantastic there. So hopefully, based on what the mechanic said, it was the radiator bolts on my Ford truck. They will be fixed and it'll finally be street legal in Maryland, hopefully in December, which means I've been without my truck since September, the first week of September, October, November. Yeah. So 3 months I haven't had a truck. So that's why I haven't put out a lot of videos when it came to hidden gems and stuff and tip videos. So basically, let's put it this way. I'm saving up money and a lot of time off my brand new job so that this spring, we have a lot of cool things happening. So I'm going to take the positive and the negative here. The negative is I haven't been able to put out a lot of other videos. I haven't gotten to fish a lot, which sucks. The positive is we got some cool things coming in the spring because Hidden Gems is coming back with a vengeance. And Hidden Gems I'm going to put a lot of time into because when I want to do Hidden Gems is a documentary series first and foremost is what I want to do. I want to really tell the story of the body of water that we're at. 2 is I'm wrapping the truck. My truck I'm wrapping with Fishing the DMV so we can help grow the business, which is going to be amazing. So the whole truck will be completely wrapped. Number 3, I'm going to try to sponsor the Northern Virginia Kayak Association. Fishing the DMV will. I don't know how and what capacity, but I'm going to talk to them about trying to sponsor it. Number 4 is we're going to be at the Richmond Expo this year in January. I worked that out. So we will be giving live coverage of the Richmond Expo in the next year. Number 5 is I'm only going to be working 2 jobs instead of 3 next spring, which is amazing because that means I can actually fish more. So I'm really happy about that. So I apologize that the Hidden Gem series did not come out this year, and I apologize for not doing the tips and tricks videos. And also, I appreciate you guys pushing me to do more fishing adventures. I've always thought that you would think that would be boring, just to watch me just fish, but apparently a lot of you want me to just fish. So I'm going to start doing that more, this wintertime as well. And we'll be talking about that too. Let's see. Travis Cyber, what's happening, Captain? Travis, good to see you, my good sir. Really, really, really appreciate you guys watching. My wife doesn't like fishing talk either. I heard the episode BTL about MLF. Glad you have this show. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, thank you. This is my therapy session first and foremost. If you guys do not like this setup, how I do this episode, it's no problem. I just have this platform and I needed to vent about how I felt about what was going on. If you don't like it, no problem. A new podcast episode is going to drop tomorrow morning. I think I had the Susquehanna with I'm not going to give it away, but he came in second place at a Susquehanna event on the kayak series this year. And he was a fantastic interview. Let's see. All the podcasts have been awesome, bro. Keep hitting it. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it. Before I mention it, huge shout out to the 2 individuals that won not only Lake Frederick, but he also won Angler of the Year. for the Northern Virginia Kayak Association. Huge shout out to you. And the Rookie of the Year. I am not going to tell you who won Lake Frederick for the kayak or who won Angler of the Year. I want to know in the chat. And in the chat, I want you to tell me who won Rookie of the Year. Let me know and I'll kind of get you a prize. But I'm going to try to get all of them on the show as well. So we have a ton of podcast episodes. It is stupid. I literally have a backlog of about like 10 episodes already. I cannot keep up with it. It's insane. And I appreciate all of you. Anyway, that boring shit's out of the way. We don't care about that. Let's get to the stuff. Major League Fishing. Okay. Here is my venting session. So I was in Hancock, Maryland today, and I was just walking the dog in the evening. I was able to get off work at my new job pretty early. And you know what? I wanted to go for a jog, walk the dog. Wife was working late. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go walk the dog for you because I'm going to win some brownie points. Because if you're married, it's all about leverage and just getting brownie points. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look amazing if I take this dog and I go walk her dog for her before she gets off work. I'm going to look like a hero. She's going to have all this time. She can do whatever she wants. Cool. I'm going to take this dog. I'm going to go to a cool place. I'm going to walk the dog. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be bored. Let me try to find something to listen to. I was like, you know what? I haven't listened to Bass Talk Live in a while. And I was scrolling through there and I saw, to my amazement, that Mark Jeffries was back. Mark Jeffries, man, the myth, legend. Mark Jeffries, if you don't know him, he is 60 years old, probably about 100 in between there. He founded Bass Talk Live. And last December, he retired. I think it was, this is funny. He announced his retirement the same time we uploaded our first episode of Fishing the DMV. That's why I always remember it. I think it was like November 29th. Anyway, he was on for just a random episode. It was I think it was called Mark After Dark. And he was going to take a lot of callers and he's promoting a bowling thing for his high school kids that he's doing. Anyway, just building up the backstory here. And he had some callers on there and they were talking a lot about MLF and about the rule changes. If you guys do not know and you are not aware, Major League Fishing, when they first started, they were on the Outdoor Channel 6-7 years ago, and they were really a TV product. That's what they were. That's what their brand was. And part of their thing was it was catch, weigh, release. Every fish counts. No information. You don't know where you're fishing. And then we just take you to the body of water and we just dump you there. Good luck. Best to you. That was MLF, Major League Fishing. Through the years, they've evolved. The owners of the company, when Major League Fishing became this big conglomerate that bought FLW, they have openly said that they are not only trying to compete with bass, they want to become bass. That's all the backstory. Then cut to recently when they announced a new change. And the new change is they're going to go to a 5-fish limit. So instead of just doing catch, weigh, release, and every fish counts, they're going to go to now catch, weigh, release, and only your top 5 count. Okay. In a vacuum, that wouldn't make sense. Context is needed. First year or two on the circuit, every fish did count. And that was generally speaking, if it was 12 inches or greater, it counted. And then they adjusted it to certain weights, which is not a big deal, I guess. Okay, you could write that off, no problem. Then it went from 12 inches to certain weights to 5 fish. And if you were an alien dropped down, you wouldn't understand the context of this. Well, it's because there's this other organization called Bassmasters. Bassmasters, historically, the brand is strong, the Bassmaster Classic. It's one of the oldest ones. Well, it is now the oldest organization still around when it comes to bass fishing. They have this individual where you have the catch, you don't have the catch, weigh, release. You have the catch, you put them in the live well, you drive them to a weigh-in, show your fish off. That was the old model. It is basically the National League of Baseball where you don't have the DH. Ever since MLF was created, they have been struggling for some reason with their identity. And what is amazing is when you see people online call into the shows, and this gets me to Bass Talk Live, when they call in and I want to say some of these like comments are retarded, but it just like there's no. I don't understand where people are coming from. I truly don't when it comes to the business side of me. And I'm an individual. I'm starting my third business right now. Like I'm very much an entrepreneur when it comes to heart. That's what I am. And what MLF is doing makes no freaking sense to me. Please, in the comment section, please let me know if I'm wrong here. The people that came on BTL, and I'm going to go down some of the comments. One of them that really got my birds is like, okay, the reason they're going to the 5 fish limit is because Jacob Wheeler is too good. The younger guys are too good at this limit. The reason they're making this adjustment is because they're just too good, guys. They win all the time. Therefore, you have to go to the 5 fish limit for people to be able to have success. Another one that was fantastic that I enjoyed was, listen, catch, weigh, release, great, that's fine, but 5 fish limits where it's at. That's what Bass does. So therefore, MLF needs to do that because that's what Bassmaster does. That makes sense, right? So that was another great argument that was made for these people that were calling into the show. Another one that was amazing was Marty Stone and individuals that work for MLF came on and said, listen, we do not have the technology. The technology does not exist. Their words, the technology does not exist for us to be able to do catch, weigh, release on a broad scale for other organizations. Marty Stone works for Major League Fishing. They interviewed Jacob Wheeler and all these other people giving their thoughts on this program. But the thing that struck out to me was the idea, like them saying, like, the technology does not exist to be able to do catch, weigh, release. That is why we have to get rid of every fish counts and we have to go to just a 5 fish limit. Highlight that in your brains. We're going to come back to that. That's a big one right there. So with all that said, all I'm doing right now, and this is again my therapy session here, is for me, is breaking this down from a business perspective. Okay. So let's pick one. Let's pick one to destroy first. Let's go with the one I love the most. Why aren't you more like Bassmasters? Fantastic argument. So the individual that says that also has never owned a business before. I'm 100% sure that's true. They've never owned a business. I owned a business one time where I had a client come to me, and I was very unique in my industry. And they basically told me they wanted my services, but they wanted me to do it exactly like my competitor did it, verbatim, in my industry. Tom, what's the problem? That would be like you went to Burger King. You walk in and you tell them, I want you to make me a Big Mac, please. Please make me a Big Mac. And you're like, ma'am or sir or furry, whatever you desire in 2022. This is Burger King. We do not make the Big Mac. And then that thing storms off and then writes a bad Yelp that I went to Burger King and they did not make me a Big Mac. Why can't Burger King be more like McDonald's? Because they're Burger King. They are a unique entity and they have a niche in the market. That is why. If you want McDonald's, go to McDonald's. That is so easy. If you do not want to work for the meat industry because you're a vegan, don't work in the meat industry. Go work where you are happy. If you do not like the catch, weigh, release, every fish counts, do not work for them. Go somewhere else. That's how easy it is. And I'm just trying to pick apart all these arguments here. So that's number one. The people that are complaining with Inside MLF are the individuals that suck at fishing MLF. I am not talking about which one is better or worse. I'm just picking apart the arguments individually and as a business structure. Jacob Wheeler, who wins every year at MLF, is not complaining about every fish counts. Ott Defoe is not complaining about it at all. The people that are good at the system aren't complaining. It's the people that suck and can't actually fish that way, which is perfectly fine. In baseball terminology, for an example, you have a National League and an American League. In the American League, and this is back before all the rule changes, by the way, I'm going to say, you had a DH, and in the National League, you did not have a DH. Two different leagues. One was more pitcher friendly than the other. Instead of complaining, go to where you can be successful. And you know what happened? Brandon Pollock, Iconelli, Gerald Swindle, a lot of really good names moved away from the MLF system to the Bass system because they were more successful in a 5-fish catch and weigh system. Perfectly fine. And that was the genius of Major League Fishing and Bass, in my mind. You had two unique ideas on fishing: 5 fish, heaviest weight, or anything that's 12 inches counts. That is interesting to see it, because it was also interesting to see, mind you, how some anglers were good at one, some anglers were good at another, and there were a few, mind you, that were good at both. A Jacob Wheeler literally could do both, no problem. Whereas, an example, he's a great fisherman. Brandon Pollock struggled with MLF, but he's doing very good on the bass side of things. I think that is extremely interesting to see how your skill sets differ from the leagues. If you'd like another analogy, it would be like football, where Marino was a really good quarterback in a time when there were defensive penalties were a little bit more lax, let's say. So that is why Marino is still considered one of the best quarterbacks of all time, even though his stats are not as gaudy as some of the quarterbacks now, because the quarterbacks now are dealing with a time where the officials will throw a flag and blow a whistle anytime you as much as touch an offensive player. So the rules have changed nowadays to benefit the offense. So you sticking with me here, guys? Everyone here? Travis Iber. Often never duplicated. I enjoy the MLF format just because it was different and just another format of fishing to watch on TV. Absolutely. So, and that gets to my point here, which is so stupid. MLF was always catch, weigh, release. Every fish counts. They started about that way. That was their brand and their identity out on the Outdoor Channel. And I watched that every night with my brother. We would record it and we would watch it together. It was fun. As a TV show, it was entertaining. But they built a brand and they built a cult following on that brand. What you just did is you alienated your fan base, chasing somebody else's fan base. And this is my point number 2. If you guys watch movies right now, an example is I'm really big. I listen to a lot of individuals that talk about movies and comic book industries and stuff like that. There has not been a brand new Star Wars movie in a very long time. And there's a reason for that. Disney pissed off the Star Wars fan base so badly, and they lost so much money on Star Wars movies, they stopped producing them. Why? Instead of making sure their fan base was happy, their built-in fan base, they were trying to chase others outside their bubble. And this was something that I learned in my marketing classes as a master's in business association, my MBA degree, which I do not agree with, which is if you have a bubble, you have your primary fan base here. And what they believe, and they teach us in schools across the country, your hardcore fans, you do not have to play to because you have them. What you're trying to get is these borderline fringe fans. How do you placate to them? And the example was this, and I shit you not. This was the example. If you have the NFL, Brad, who's watched NFL his whole life in this bubble, no matter what you do, he's going to watch the NFL. What you're after is his girlfriend, is his wife, is the individual that doesn't watch. That's who you're trying to market to. That, and I still believe it to this day, is absolutely stupid and makes no sense. Because if your logic is that the people in the circle don't matter because they're always going to be there, that means you're going to disrespect your core audience. And eventually, you will no longer have your core audience if your basic principle is the grass is always greener outside the fence. MLF had a core audience because they were unique, and it was individuals that liked the catch, weigh, release multi-fish format. That was their brand. And that's what I'm saying here, just their brand. If they're trying to be bass to the T, why would I want to watch you when I could just watch bass? And that to me is what does not make sense at all from a business sense. They are slowly over time trying to become bass when they had a niche market that was completely unique to their own. So there's that. So there's that right there. And we're going to get to, all right. I know politics are big and everything, but it's amazing to see how big and how much role they play in professional bass fishing in my eyes. Absolutely. I would love to go down the rabbit hole one time with everybody about that. But again, this is really just about me. This is my cathartic time here. I listened to something that pissed me off today, and I was like, well, if I tell this to my wife, she's going to be mad at me because I'm just going to have her ear all night. Because listen, you guys want to have a fun conversation, go complain to your wife about either your football team or whatever's passionate to you about it, or your latest fishing tournament, and just to see the weird, like they're trying to pretend that they care, but they don't. And honestly, that kills me on the inside even more when it's like someone's like, oh, that's so sweet. Almost like they're talking to an animal. It's like, who's a good boy? You're so passionate about something that's so cute. So that's why I'm here right now. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah. But it's amazing to see how big and how much role they play in the professional bass. Yeah, politics does 100%. And that's the thing, too, is like MLF is by the anglers. The anglers voted. The anglers that are voting to go back to 5 fish limit are the anglers that are leaving MLF. And it gets back to the issue as a corporation. They have an issue here. They're competing for the 1%. Disney lost their specific states right in Florida, a tax right that they had for like 60 years, because they tried to cave into the minority in their company. Same thing here. I feel like MLF is caving to a minority of people that want to fish the 5 fish format, which I'm fine. I watch both. Shocking. I will watch both MLF and bass. I love both formats for unique reasons. If you don't want to fish MLF, go fish bass. If you want to fish MLF, go fish MLF. That was what was so unique about having just two, one on each side that were so different, is you could fish your strengths. If you think you can catch the 5 biggest fish, go here. If you think you're more of a guy that can just catch, you want to have that consistent rhythm of just always going down the bank and catching stuff, you can go fish that format. And now it feels like they are they're not being proactive, they're reacting to people leaving. And so it's like, okay, well, we'll just be like bass. Why? Now, the last point here, this one is interesting. And this one kind of like really sent me off here. Marty Stone, who is I guess it's called a pundit. And I apologize if I said that wrong. A pundit was on the show talking, I think it was to Matt Penrack, by the way. And he was talking about how going to the 5 fish format is for the better, that they thought they would have the technology to be able to multiply what they do and take it down the chain. So example is you could do catch, weigh, release, and you could do it for the FLW tour, which was basically, I guess, the Tackle Warehouse tour now, and that's changed, so I can't keep up with that Tackle Warehouse tour, the Toyota Costa tour, the BFL tour, all that stuff. That was their plan to go down there. And Marty Stone came on the show and said the technology does not exist right now for us to do that. We cannot do catch, weigh, release all the way down the chain. It's impossible. We are not there yet. We can't multiply this down for different tournaments. This is why we have to go to 5 fish format. Then they interviewed different individuals within the organization and asked their opinion. So let's break that down there first. And we'll start back and we'll work forward. If I came and interviewed you at your job and I asked you, Travis Cyber, we'll say Joshua or Gary, Travis. Oh, let's go Travis. Travis, I'm going to pick on you. Travis, how do you like your job? I'm going to make this a live stream. How do you like your job? You're not going to be like, well, Tom, listen, my boss is a dick. I hate it here. Every day I'm thinking about just jumping off a bridge. This is a terrible company. You're not going to say that. You're going to only promote the company. It's called propaganda. That's literally, it's promotion, marketing, propaganda. It's all the same thing, created by Joseph Goebbels back in the day. Anyway, point is, so you cannot take what they say with a grain of salt. Now let's get to Marty Stone. This is the fantastic thing. The technology does not exist. This is factually inaccurate. It is wrong. I'm not going to say it's a lie, but it's close. It's all bullshit. The technology is there. If you say catch, weigh, and release isn't available to grow, to multiply out, I need you to get more into the nitty-gritty of why. Because kayak fishing, the biggest sector of the bass fishing world, and I went to ICAST this year, kayak fishing is huge. It is literally based off of, you have an app on your phone, you take a picture of the fish on a scale, and you send the damn thing in. So if it is available, because every kayak organization uses a literal catch, weigh, release system, and Josh was beating me to the punch here, a catch, weigh, release system, the technology is there. A portion of the technology is there. So you're immediately bullshitting when you say the technology is not there. Cool, you're lying. That's not a good way to start it. Number two, so then what do you mean? You don't own the software. That's what your problem is. At first, you wanted to own it all and then spread it out amongst everything. I think that's part of it. Number two, why do you think the Bassmasters go to the St. Lawrence River every year for the last 30 years? I'm exaggerating, but why do you think they go there every year? It's not just because it is a very good fishery, because it is. Money. They get paid to bring them there, to have the weigh-ins and have the tournament there. That's fine. That's how it is. For better or worse, it's bass fishing. That's why Lake Hartwell will always be on the schedule every couple of years. That's why the St. Lawrence River is always going to be there for a couple of years. That's why the Sabine River in Texas, which is a god-awful fishery, is there, because the crowds are good, because they pay them. That's fine. One reason these fisheries, or these communities, let me say, pay them to go there is for the weigh-ins. The way Marty Stone, go back and listen to it, the way he answered the questions, he is opening the door that MLF is going back to weigh-in formats. And I think it's because of money. This is my predictions, that MLF is going back to, they're slowly weaning people off the catch weigh thing, and eventually they're going back to a weigh-in style format, because the money is in the venues. Because, again, the reason I'm saying this, if the technology is not there for everyone to have every fish count, how the hell is the technology there just for 5 fish? That makes no sense at all. The reason you're doing this is you're either trying to compete with bass, or you're slowly trying to get back to just a regular 5 fish format, because there's more money involved in weigh-ins, which is fine. That is my hypothesis right now, is they're trying in the next 4 or 5 years, they're going to become not MLF, but FLW, basically. And they're going to go back to the 5 fish weigh-ins. I feel like that's what's going on. Listening to the way Marty Stone answered the questions, they're leaving the door open for that, because it's factually inaccurate to say the technology is not there. It is there. If you don't want to pay for it, that's fine. I would say you should partner with it, because, again, I don't know how you guys feel about the catch, weigh, release system, but in general, it's not a bad idea. when it comes just from environmental and stuff, like the catch weigh release again. Why? Because like kayaking has done it. It works great. Like you can just take the picture of the fish and put it back. Yeah, and Rusty Lane, yeah, huge one here. Rusty Lane, I think the sponsors are pressuring them. I think so too. I think sponsors are pressuring them to go back to a weigh-in style format where you bring fish into the scales. I think that's what it is. And I think that is highly dangerous for MLF, because if you are trying to compete with bass as bass, you will lose every day. If I want a Big Mac from McDonald's, I'm going to go to McDonald's to get the Big Mac. I can't compete. Like Burger King can't compete on that front. Their main goal, Rusty Lane, yeah, I think their main goal is to buy bass, which again, this is the issue with MLF. I think so if you guys don't remember, when MLF really became a thing, where it was really talking about becoming an organization outside of TV, it was the same year. It was the same couple of years where like they were going to go to the Chesapeake Bay. Bass was going to go to the Chesapeake Bay, and the event got canceled. The next year on the slate was to go to California. It was going to go to Sacramento, and I think Lake Havasu, or it was the Delta. And then Bass changed that last minute. Oh, it was the same year Mark Daniels Jr. won on Lake Oahe for the first time. It's the first time they went there. It was that year. And you had a lot of Bass people, Bass Elite Series pros, that were pissed off and grumbling. Iaconelli was complaining. Gerald Swindle was like a bunch of them were complaining. And then the big switch happens. MLF is boom, it exists. The problem with Major League Fishing is they have an insane premise where if I had the money, I think a bunch of us had the money right now, we could make MLF work, because it's a very unique idea, and uniqueness will sell, and it has a marketplace if you give it time. I truly believe the idea of Major League Fishing as its own unique thing would work. Every fish counts is interesting, because watching the last 10 minutes, when you're watching that 10th line bubble between 9th and 10th place and 11th place, dude, that is insane. I love the last few minutes of every Major League Fishing event every day where you don't know who's going to get in. There's an intensity there that they built, which is, it's really cool. And they should have kept that, because that was like intense, because you don't know who's going to get in. But the point is, like, there are some good tangible things that MLF has done. And I feel like they're squandering that because MLF was not born on the principles of a unique idea. MLF was born on being jaded by an ex-lover, which was bass. MLF is that scorned girlfriend that wants you no matter what. MLF wants to be bass, no matter what. And they will squander every opportunity they have to be a unique part of this niche market, as long as they can become bass, or they'll die trying. And I think that's an absolute shame. It really is, because bass has made some mistakes. And I think MLF had a chance to really capitalize on it, and they messed up. One of them was you had the BFLs, then you had the Costas or Toyotas or whatever the heck they are next year. Then you had the Tackle Warehouse Pro Series. Then you had the big leagues. So you had a 4-step process. That's amazing. On the bass side, you never really had that. You had the opens and then the big leagues. And so you were pissing away a shit ton of money to become part of the opens, competing against an insane field. Whereas FLW MLF, you had like this 4-step program to slowly build up to it. That's a cool idea. Really lean into that. They won't. Let me get to some questions here, because I feel like I'm ranting. Sorry, guys. I know I'm ranting a lot right here, but this is just kind of my prep time. They don't want to spend the money. Joshua, you're absolutely right. I don't think they really want to spend the money on the software. I think that's the issue here. I just didn't like the way the question was like, the technology doesn't exist. It's like, have you watched the Northern Virginia Kayak Association or KBF or anything? Like, the technology's here. Why did you like that? Tipped me off that that's not true. So what is your intentions when you say the technology doesn't exist? The technology is there to have catch weigh released in some format. It's there. And guys, So I live within like 1 minute of Williamsport, Virginia, or Williamsport, Maryland. Sorry, that's weird. Williamsport, Virginia. That's completely different. Williamsport, Maryland. So right on the Upper Potomac. And after talking to Matt Sell of the DNR um and Jason, I think it's Jason. Oh crap, what's his name? This is not good, sir. Forgive me for forgetting your name. Sorry, John. I was calling him Jason. Jesus Christ, I'm so bad with names. John Mulliken, and Matt Sell of the Maryland DNR. There is a window in the spring. So from January until June 11th, I believe, that smallmouth can't go in the live well. And it's the same thing for a couple of fisheries in our area in PA. There's a time frame where you can't fish a tournament where the fish goes in the live well. That is where catch, weigh, release comes in fantastic. You can have your tournament, abide by the governmental rules, catch, weigh, release, put the fish right back in the water. Love that. It's good. It's good for everybody. Same thing, my opinion. If you're fishing summertime tournaments from, let's say, June to August when it's 180 degrees, I think catch, weigh, release is probably healthier for the fish. And if you catch a 6-pounder, catch it, weigh it, picture, back in the water, boom. It probably is going to have a higher probability of living than if you throw it in the live well and drive it around the lake or the river the whole day. Again, any people at DNR, I know you all listen to this podcast. Let me know if I'm wrong. There's a statistical higher probability of survival if it's catch, weigh, release versus it goes in the live well. I think there's a niche market for that. And I would also wager a guess that in the future, catch, weigh, release is what will have to happen for us to keep these fisheries better. And the reason I say that is if you look at Lake Gunnersville gets the absolute shit panel out of it in Alabama. They went to a 3-fish limit in some tournaments in the summertime, local ones, just to cut down on the mortality rate. There might be a time in the future where certain states do promote, enforce, wink and nod a catch, weigh, release system to help with the mortality rates. So the idea of MLF semi-shooting themselves in the foot and saying like the technology is not there, it's just like you're being very nearsighted. I think you actually nailed it. Bass, who preaches conservation, Bass should have 100% been on catch, weigh, release a lot earlier, because I think it's kind of the future of fishing when it comes to purely conservation. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Or even doing what they do at the Lake Fork tournament. So like when they do the Texas Bash at Lake Fork, you catch, weigh, release everything except your biggest fish. So instead of having 5 in the live well, it's only your 10-pounder. Even that is probably better for just pure conservation. All right, sorry, that was bad. That was a bad rant right there. And my wife, thank you, just gave me some tequila with salt. Oh wow, God bless her. I think the sponsors put the pressure on them. Oh, 100%. Sponsors run fishing because fishing is not a real sport. I've worked in the baseball industry for 16 years. I started in the baseball industry when I was like 15. So 33, a lot of years. It's not a sport. Baseball's not a sport. Fishing's not a sport. It's run by sponsors and corporations just like NASCAR is. And I think a lot of sponsors are like, this is the way we think you need to do it. And they basically bent the knee to them. I think that definitely is it. Their main goal is to buy bass, Rusty Lane. I believe that is true, 100%. I don't know if they want to. Yeah, Rusty, do you think they want to buy bass or be bass? Again, I know I'm splitting hairs, but there's two there. So example is, if they could buy bass, they would. But if bass would disappear and they became them, they'd like that too. Joshua Gray. There has been a lot more light shined on bass when it comes to today's exposure, like social media. MLF has not been covered as much. Go on any platform, bass owns it. They want to catch up. They want to catch up. But this is also the issue I have too when it comes to Joshua. And this is just such a rivet I had. Is like some of these people that came on this podcast I was listening to were their complaints as a business owner And anyone that's listening that owns a business or runs a mom and pop shop, whatever, gets this. Let's say you're a chef, and I'll use this as a great example. You're a chef and you run a barbecue joint that literally specializes in beef brisket. It is your passion. You're bringing this to market. You want to run the best beef brisket place around. A person comes in and says that they are a vegan. And they're mad at you for not literally making exactly what they want. So they go on Yelp and bitch that this barbecue joint had the audacity not to have a vegan option. What the hell's wrong with you? Why didn't you do that? Why did you not give Karen a vegan soy latte and a nice little kelp biscuit at your restaurant? I can tell you why. Because you're a barbecue brisket place, and that is what you are. You have a niche. This is your identity. And I get the customer's always right, but that's to an extent. If I am a meat restaurant, that's what I am. I'm not saying it. If I'm a Chinese restaurant and you're like, I cannot believe you do not have a cheeseburger on your authentic Chinese menu, you're a dumbass. People coming on these shows being like, I wish MLF was like Bass. Why wasn't MLF more like Bass? This is really weird. MLF is not like Bass because it's MLF. Watch Bass. It's that easy. And it's not, again, it's so weird. I don't try to like stand up for MLF all the time, but it makes it hard not to when you have a lot of idiots online saying like, why aren't you more like Bass? Because they're their own thing. If you don't like it, don't watch it. I know that's so crazy, but it's like, if you don't like my store, you don't like my business, just don't shop here. It's just that easy. But MLF going to this idea of like, well, instead of the customers that like me, screw them, I'm going to go chase Bass. It's just going to be their downfall. There has been a lot more light shine on the Bass when it comes. Okay, I think I just read this one. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. They own all the platforms. And the thing is, it's time. Bass has been around a lot longer. MLF will grow a following. MLF scared the absolute living shit out of everyone when they initially said like entry fees are free. Bass could not deal with that. So MLF has an opportunity. I'm not saying, oh, make entry fees free, but there was a chance there where people were like, oh shit, you have to fish here because like it's the best option for us. I think eventually MLF could get there where they could have a good piece of the pie. Would they be the best one? I don't know, but I think they would have a niche because people would grow up in their system and like it. Rusty Lane, they tried to get the casual fishermen into it and found out those anglers don't buy and make up sales that tournament anglers do. The issue is the youth. Bass, and I just know this because I work with a lot of high schoolers right now. Bass did a really good job of being a fantastic drug dealer. And if anyone knows the Dave Chappelle show, if you're a good drug dealer, you give out free samples to the kids. Bass was fantastic at attacking high schoolers and college kids and getting them hooked on the drug of fishing, getting them into that organization early. MLF did not do a great job of that because they had to buy their whole infrastructure from FLW. Bass has time on their hands. Bass has been established. MLF is not. MLF has always had to play the waiting game. I think if MLF stayed the way they are for 10, 15, 20 years, I think MLF would be in a great spot because, again, I truly believe there is going to be regulations from the state about call limits as more and more anglers get involved in the sport. I get to interview DNR individuals from Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. I interview all of them. The regulations are going to change, folks. More anglers since COVID are around. There's more fishing pressure on lakes and rivers than there have ever been. There are no new lakes being built. They're just not. It will get to the point where call sizes will go down. I think it was Matt Sell that was on the show, and this was off air that he said this, where the call limits in place right now, hear this right now. This is from a DNR individual off record. If everyone kept what they were allowed to keep, there'd be no more fish in all the lakes. I'll say that again. Matsell, Odenkirk, Hallecker, all these people have said this. If everyone kept 5 fish, bass, or bluegill, whatever, kept the creel limit size, there would literally be no more fish left in the lake. It's an outdated law based on the fact that people wouldn't be successful. That was back 50 years ago. These laws will be updated when you start seeing higher and higher mortality rates in fisheries, because it is cheaper to husband a resource than it is to stock. It will always be that way. It's always cheaper to husband a lake in the sense of setting correct limits on what can go into a live well than it is to just try to stock a place. Eventually, 5 fish limit might go away in certain fisheries. So I think MLF was kind of ahead of the curve, saying like, guess what? In 10, 20, 30 years, this is probably going to be the system. And oh my God, I got so many comments here. All right. Hey man, it's been a while. Ashley Higgins, hey man, it's been a while here. I'm not happy about the switch. I loved MLF because of their every fish caught turning rules. Now, what's the difference between them and bass? Exactly. It's again, I don't understand it either. If you're a breakfast store and you're trying to be a breakfast store and all of a sudden you're trying to compete with McDonald's, it makes absolutely no sense to me. There's so many floating fish at the ramps after tournaments. Catch, weigh, release is the way to go. Hell, if it goes over a certain size, bring one back to show off. Otherwise, catch, weigh, pick, release. Yeah, and I guess the thing that guys get, the thing that made me irritated was like it's the corporate like tease of we don't have the technology to do this. That's not true. The technology is there. What you mean is you don't own the technology, so you're going to do this. That kind of really pissed me off for some reason, because kayaks, again, for people that are just tuning in, kayaks have been doing this for years. They've been doing catch, weigh, release, take a picture. You could make that work at a BFL level eventually, where you could have a scale, you put your little number card above the scale, and you take a picture of it with a timestamp. You could do that and then have it roll in. You just couldn't own it, is why, which is fine. But I will tell you guys, for any entrepreneurs out there, if you can figure out how kayak fishing, if you don't know, you have a bump board and you have a little card with a code and everything. You put your fish on the bump board and you take a picture and then you submit it. If you could do that same system, except instead of a measuring board, you did a weight and you take a picture of that. If you could figure out how to do that, you would make a shit ton of money. I bet half the people in chat right now could figure out a way to do that. Russ Lane, 100% agree. Screw Karen, I'm a barbecue person. I'm not changing who I am for something else. Yeah, and again, I guess that's why I'm so mad, is it's like MLF, when MLF first started, MLF was like, we're doing our own thing. And people were pissed at them for not being bass. And to me, it's like, just be bass. Like, just go watch bass. Like, I don't like it. And I guess it's because it's 2020 where everyone's like complaining all the time. Like, you need to do exactly what I want. If you don't serve my needs, I'm going to be pissed at you. And I guess it's that entrepreneurial small business owner, that DNA that kind of pissed me off there. It's like, no, MLF is its own thing. If you don't like MLF, that's fine. And you can critique them, but don't be more like bass. Like, just watch bass then. I don't know. And again, if you are in the MLF organization and you're a pro, if you don't like Major League Fishing, leave and go fish bass. That is fine. You know who's not complaining? It's the people that understand the format and that are good at it, which is interesting. Because if you remember, some people that won Bassmaster left for MLF. Ott Defoe won the Classic. It was really interesting how he did that. But anyway, he won the Classic and then he moved to Major League Fishing. You're not having a lot of people that are winners in Major League Fishing leaving to go to bass. The only people that are making a stink are the people that suck at the format. Just saying. Oh my God, so many chats. Just saying, how many of the bigger name pro batch off now? Oh, no. Just saying, how many of the bigger... And guys, I know I suck at reading. If you really want to hear me read really bad, you should check out my other channel. It's called Spirits and Ghost Stories. Me and my wife drink a lot of alcohol and tell stories, and I have to pronunciate some weird ass Latin names, and it's terrible. Just saying, how many of the bigger name pros branch off now? There's a reason they left Bass in the first place. 100% agree, Ashley. There's a reason. Ike and Ellie left. Brandon Polinick left. All of them left for a reason, and they came back. Which I have my own thoughts about that. It's not. It feels weird because some of those pros really complained a lot about Bass to leave and then just to come back. It's like, you were the reason this happened. Why would you do this? But again, it's also bad because of who's leaving. I'm going to Jacob Wheeler right now a lot just because he is the most successful. He is one of the most successful anglers in the Major League format. Edwin Evers is another good one. And it's very telling that the individuals that are the best in their organization are not speaking up. It's the people that sucked, which is fine. Am I saying Brandon Polinick is a terrible angler? No, I'm not. It's, again, I go back to the Major League Baseball reference. If you got to pitch in Yankee Stadium, or I don't know if you guys know, Yankee Stadium, for you guys that don't know baseball, it's a very home run friendly park. Okay. Very home run friendly park. You go there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to flip that around there. You get to play in San Diego, which is a National League ballpark. It's a big ass place. It's a very huge dimensions. And you're a hitter. You're a lefty, let's say. And you play there and you don't have really good stats. And then you move to Yankee Stadium and you have a really short porch in left field, and all of a sudden you're putting up gaudy numbers. Does that make you a bad hitter? Not necessarily. You just had to go to the place that suited your style. Your style was Yankee Stadium, a shorter porch. Half your games are in a short porch when the wind blows from home all the way out to left center field usually. You got a short porch. It's a really good place for you. Bryce Harper, you really should have gone there, even though you almost won a World Series with Philly. Sucks to be you, though. I can't believe you left the Nationals. That's an example. If you're not good at that format, go back to the five fish. Brandon Polinick went right back to the five fish and he kicked ass because he's a good angler in the five fish format. There's no problem there. Let's see. I'm just saying how many of the bigger name pros. I just read that one. Sorry, Ashley. And went to MLF. MLF needs to keep the individuality. 2 different routes for anglers to take on the boat, level with bass on the other side. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about it too, I think MLF had a good chance with something I complained a lot about by myself in the car alone, talking like a lunatic when I was younger, is the fact that there was no good stepping stones to become a pro. And what I mean is, you look at this way, all the college trophies and shit I have in the background. After college, you had the BFLs. So you went from college, which everything's basically given to you for free. Well, everything's given to you for free if your college pays for it. I didn't. I had to pay for everything myself because I started the club and I funded the club. But let's say you go to Auburn or Tech, a lot of it's paid for. Cool. Then you go to BFLs and you have to pay for it, but it's only a one-day tournament until you get to like the super regionals, things like that. Then you do the Costas or Toyotas or whatever it's called now. That's the first multi-day tournament circuit you can fish, which is still a minor league type of circuit. And then you can evolve from there. On the bass side, they're missing that in between, I feel like, where it's like, it's Federation, TBF, something like that. But then it's like, it's the Opens. You need a stepping stone where you can learn how to fish multi-day events. Fishing a multi-day event is way, way different than fishing a one-day derby. It's completely different, and you need to learn how to fish that. The only way you can learn how to fish that is to fish multi-day events. But if you're fishing a organization where the only multi-day event you're fishing is in the fall for your championship, your learning curve is going to be a little bit slower than if you pay the money to fish the Opens. One reason fishing the Opens, for an example, one reason it's about money for the Opens is the fact that if I gave you a blank check and you got to fish the Opens, you get really good at it. Why? One of the reasons is you would get good at understanding fish behavior in a multi-day format with 200 boats in the water and how the fish adjust. It is different than a one-day derby. I hope that made sense. I don't know if it did. Let's see. I gotta get through all these super chats here. MLF needs to keep the individuality. Okay, I just read that one. Sorry. I think MLF pays out better than Bass, and the fact that they pay further down the roster and more guys get priced. Guys, right now in the comment section, let me know. Type up right now. Who do you think pays better? Do you think Bass pays better? Pays down better? Do you think MLF pays down better? Let's just say BFLs. Or do you think the KBF Kayak Series pays down better? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's see. Just like the kayak angling game, Joshua Gray, just like the kayak angling game, they should take consideration of what we are doing in Yak's individuality in the same industry does bring a strong following. Joshua, I 100% agree. And guys, like, so this was my first year. I'm not going to lie, because I was in college full-time working 2 jobs. I kind of half-assed my first soiree into the kayaking game. I think I only fished 2 derbies. Well, I had to. Anyway, I like kayak fishing. I think there's a lot of good things about kayak fishing. I think kayak fishing has the same issues that Bass and MLF does, though. It's like, if I had to pick between fishing a kayak tournament out of the tidal Potomac River in April and March or a boat, I'm picking a boat. It's just, it's safer. It is like that time of year on that river. It's just weird. It's a little scary. I'd rather fish a boat. I'm more comfortable in it. But what a kayak series has that is so unique that MLF had for a while, but they screwed this up because they're retarded. You can go to places that boat can't. That's your niche. That's your niche market. You can go to the Susquehanna River. I can't put a fiberglass boat in the Susquehanna. You can go to Hunting Run Reservoir in Virginia. I can't put a big fiberglass boat and be successful on Hunting Run Reservoir. I can go to places that you can't in a big boat. That is your niche market. That is your juice. Yes, you can go to Kentucky Lake. Yes, you can go to these big lakes 100%, and you can have success there. But there are so many cool ass fisheries in this United States that you could hit in a kayak. And again, I think I've said this before on live streams, and it's worth saying again. If you brought an alien down and you showed him this format and you had him look at the schedules, you would literally only think in the continental United States there's like 6 lakes. And they'd be like, oh yeah, clearly there's only 6 lakes because you only go to 6 lakes every year. And it's like, no. There's a shit ton of bodies of water. Why don't we go to them? I don't know. Lake Frederick, bad example. Sorry, guys. Sleater's Lake, Beaver Dam Reservoir, Occoquan Reservoir. Good fisheries. Occoquan I think, was ranked number 1 this year. So kayaking, that's their niche. That's their bread and butter. Where like they can they own that part of the market 100%. So when people are like, let's have a kayak tournament on Lake Erie. Okay, like I guess, but it's like that's not as cool as like if you have the option of like, do I want to go out on Lake Erie on a kayak or a boat? I'm gonna pick a boat. But I don't know. It's partial to that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. Who knows? Let me know in the comment section if I'm an idiot. Mate, not all events will be best 5 in MLF. No, I know, Scott, but I'm saying like they're going that way to best 5. That's what I'm saying, is they're slowly going towards that format, I feel like. And that to me is like they're slowly inching their way that way, corporate wise. Somebody manufactured a scale that they partnered with and will use across the board for official weigh-ins, or put a marshal in every boat and have the anglers initiate. That's why I don't understand. Like, why do you have to have a marshal in there for the lower events? Scott is JL Scott Fishing is really big in the kayak organization. Scott, do you need a official in every kayak when you take a picture? Do you? Do you need somebody else in your kayak to make sure that you weigh the fish or measure the fish correctly? Yep, Bobby Lane left. That was a big thing. Brandon Polinick left. That was a big thing. Shit, what's his name left? Oh, crap. He's Cajun. The Cajun baby. Who the hell's the Cajun baby? I just know him by the Cajun baby. That's not good. He ran the boat. He just won, I think, on the Red River. Crap, how do I not know his name? I know his name. I'm looking his name up right now. I know him as the Cajun Baby. It's not good that I just know Let me just type that in. Cajun Baby. I don't know if his name will come up right now. Cajun Baby. Oh, well, shit. His name doesn't come up as Cajun Baby. That's weird. You know what? Why don't I just type in Bassmasters, open, Red River? Wouldn't that help? Keith Poche. Keith Poche is going to fish both, but he's transferring over, so to speak. Hey, Shane, how you doing? Shane, this is my emotional session right now where I'm just basically venting to the whole world. I seen that Bobby Lane left. Classic win. But he also mentioned, Ashley, he also really mentioned heavily like he wants the weigh-in format too. It's both fishing and baseball. If you don't know, since I was 15, I ran a business called Aaron's Athletics where I basically profiled young athletes. I built out their athletic profile when it came to injury prevention, strength and conditioning, basically everything. And I projected their abilities out for the next 10 years and I built them a program. So I was basically heavily in baseball since I was 15 all the way up to 34. I built a business on that basically paid for everything. It helped with my other business adventures, all that stuff. So yeah, baseball is kind of like my fallback. So I use that as an analogy, Shane. What about putting together a tournament that everyone from bank to boat? Yeah, 100%, Shane. And Shane, yeah, if you want to come on, yeah, we're going to have our own vending session about that. But Shane, that's what we're talking about. It's like the point is like the technology. So Shane, basically backtrack is MLF came out and Marty Stone said in the interview, one of the things that he said was the fact that the technology is not there to be able to do catch, weigh, release and scale it. And I don't believe that's factually true. I believe that's corporate talk for like they don't own the technology because literally how many tournaments are out there where you take a picture of a fish on a board? Like that's where it's like I don't understand at all. I'm gonna have to get some mods in here because I got some weird sketchy shit that just popped up on my scale. There we go. Sorry. So that's kind of where we're at now. Kayaks don't make a fraction of what they should pay them. I 100% agree with that. That's a problem. All right, Scott, we got MLF is 81% bass, 71% payouts, entry fees overall. I'm gonna have to understand that. I'm gonna do. Oh god, MLF is 81% bass, 81%. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry, Scott. Got it. Yeah, no, yeah, because MLF even back in the day when it was I'm sorry, FLW and Bass, FLW had better payouts. It was always kind of like the secret where like you start your career with, FLW, build your career, build your brand base, and then you try to go fish the opens because there's no money in the opens unless you're like John Cox. It should pay out 95. It should be 95 payout for both. They make money from advertisers 100%. So the other thing about it though is Shane, and maybe backtrack, watch a little bit. I'll try to explain it. Now, a lot of these places pay them a lot of money to do a weigh-in because that really generates revenue for them. And so I believe MLF is kind of opening the door for having some kind of weigh-in in the future. Shane, that's true, but they never will because they can't line their pockets if they're giving competitors what they're deserved. Poche, yeah, Keith Poche, I agree. Greed runs deep. Poche's fishing both tours. Yes, Rusty. Yep, thank you. I don't know why. I just know him as Cajun Baby. So bad. By the way, you should look at his boat. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. That's another topic about the whole boat thing. I don't want to get into that now and piss a bunch of people off. I have some strong opinions about that. If you get enough people to participate in a tournament, you will get the advertisers and make profit. I 100% agree. Shane, guys, Shane Flynn Outdoors, please go follow him right now. He runs a fantastic national tournament organization. Honestly, I probably should have him on in the future. I bet he's probably with his wife right now or his grandkids, so I don't want to bother him, but he would be a good one to talk about this right now because it's very, very, very interesting. The MLF Invitationals will be less payouts in 2023, paying out only to 50. Yeah. So the MLF Invitationals is what the Toyota Series was or the Costa Series. So this is when I think you get to the point where you get so popular on the comment section, you ask for super chats because good lord, or get a mod because I'm getting there. I got to keep up with this. Okay. They don't want to pay attorneys or any other company to use their technology. And that's the problem is because now, Ashley, I believe 100%. That's the issue. I think what they should do is partner with a company that has the technology. If I was them, and I truly believe deep down that individuals that own MLF don't want to be successful on their own merits. They want to be Bass. Period in a story. They want to be Bass. And that is going to be their downfall, is they can't just be happy with being their own unique system. If I was in that director's board meeting, I'd be like, listen, let us partner with one of these companies that runs the kayak organizations, that runs one of these apps. I do not know the name of the app, but I'll pull it up right now because I have it on my phone if I can find it. Fishing Chaos. Yeah, right there. There you go. Fishing Chaos right there. Fishing Chaos app. That's used for a lot of kayak tournament organizations. I believe it's a lot of use for a lot of bank organizations right there. Boom. Partner with someone like that, and you can figure out how to do catch, weigh, and release, because I think there's a situation where that's going to become, that is the future of fishing. TourneyX. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, TourneyX. So again, Scott, if you don't know, that's what kind of pissed me off is like in this interview, it was him saying like the technology doesn't exist to do this. And it's like, that's bullshit. Like the technology to do catch, weigh, release is there to an extent. And you coming out and saying like, well, we can't figure this mystery out. I mean, this is like curing cancer, guys. I don't know how to do this thing. And there's like 3 apps that already does it. No, there's 2, but anyway, you get my point. And that's why like that kind of set me off. It's like, that makes no sense at all. Why are you saying that? Yeah. Again, that's another good point. Bass already partnered with TourneyX. Yeah. And so, but the fact is it was corporate doublespeak. For the technology does exist. Either you don't own it or you were not able to create your own or buy your own, which I guess is owning it, but it's still out there. But don't come out and just say like it doesn't exist. That makes no freaking sense at all. It's almost like the episode of BTL was to sell the new format. Feels a lot like some propaganda being pushed by. Yeah. 100%. That's kind of how it felt. Wait, who is texting me now? Hold on a second. Oh my goodness, we're gonna have a special guest on right now. We might actually have a special guest on. I don't know who this is, but we're going to find out. This is not good. Ladies and gentlemen, when you get a shady text message, now I don't know, propaganda is probably hard, but oh, by the way, fun fact. Did you know propaganda was a word actually created by Joseph Goebbels to explain what it comes down to, government descent of information from the government? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I have no idea why. Thank you, Shane. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. We're gonna have a special guest on. We're gonna have Shane from Shane Flynn Outdoors. He runs a fishing organization. I'd love his opinion to kind of come on here with that. It's almost like I want to answer one of these other questions I have before we get on there. Aluminum boats. Yeah, we could talk about that with Bass being dicks with that. Where was that question? I think I had. Where was it? Larry H7237. What is your favorite bait to throw in the Shenandoah? I guess on the Shenandoah this time of year. I got 3 baits. Ned rig. You go to the Ned rig. I love the Ned rig. It's my favorite bait. You're gonna go with that. I like a June bug type of flavor this time of year. I want that darker color. I don't know why. I just really like it. Jerk bait. Go the smaller jerk bait. A a really downsized finesse version of it, and then a swim bait. I know it's like they do catch, weigh, release at fork. It's just so weird. Like, and I honestly kind of like the Lake Fork format where it's like, yeah, if you catch a 6-pounder, I guess if you want to bring that back to the scales, fine, but then put everything back. Like, again, I've had so many people from the DNR on the show, and they talk about like live well mortality, and it's not that big of a factor. But then they also say, like, yeah, if you just put the fish back, it has a higher chance of living. And fish relocation won't be as big of an issue. Like on tidal water, where that is a bigger issue. Lakes are different than tidal water. That's a whole conversation for another day. And then we got Shane. We got Shane coming on here soon. So, and that's a whole nother conversation. Hey, you know what? Screw, we'll have it right now. So basically, Scott, I think Scott's still on here right now. Is he? Yeah, he probably is on here. Who knows? Like in the chat if you want me to keep talking about this stuff, because I know this can be boring as hell. I've been killing it with a black and sorry. I should have get you on here. I definitely gonna have to get a mod here soon. I've been killing it with a black Texas red crawl and a DT10 root beer crawl. That's really good colors right now too, especially for river smallmouth. Again, while I wait for Shane, just kind of re-update on this message right up here that I had. Brandon led with this question. When are you going to release another Hidden Gems episode? You haven't released one of those in a while. Another tips and tricks videos. Where has that been? Well, long story short, I have worked 3 jobs and was finishing up my MBA program this summer. So I was busy. Now I'm getting into the feeling of my new job, shutting down my old business, and I don't have a truck or a car. They're both in the shop, and they've been in the shop since September. It's been a nightmare. So the positive is I have a lot of time saved up from work for next year, and we are going to do the Hidden Gem series next year, which is going to be really good because it's a docu-series at its heart. And I'm going to be doing a lot more fishing adventures because I've really appreciated the outpour on my channel of people wanting me just to do more fishing docs. So that's all coming as well. Let's see. And then last thing before I get Shane on the channel here, because I see him in the queue, the Black Bass Advisory Committee is going to pass down some new regs in 2 years. 100%, Scott. That's what I predicted on this channel too, that the Black Bass Association and other government officials are going to pass down new regulations. We are going to have on the head member of the Black Bass Advisory Commission next year. I'm just going to spoil that right now. And also the guy that runs the Tidal Potomac River estuary system for the DNR for Maryland. I think he's ready right now. So we're going to bring him on real quick. The man, the myth, the legend, Shane Flynn Outdoors. This is good to have you back on, sir. A little flip flop from last time.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for letting me jump in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So to set the stage, this afternoon, I was walking my dog. My wife had to work a little bit late, so I went to the trail, walked the dog, and I got to listen to Bass Talk Live. And they had on some individuals from Major League Fishing talk about the new formats. And one of the individuals on there, the pundit, Marty Stone, talked about how the reason they're going back to the 5-fish format was they don't have the technology to be able to do catch, weigh, release, and be able to scale it. And then, of course, they had people talk, just like a talk show host, come on the show and say like, well, they need to be more like Bass. This makes sense because it's not fair. And that's kind of what led to today, because it was cathartic, because I was like, pardon my French, but it feels like it's kind of corporate bullshit to say like, well, the technology doesn't exist, because you yourself, for some reason, must be like Mark Zuckerberg because you have the technology to do it. So like, I'm confused.
Yeah. So tonight, right before I jumped in here, I did my final announcement for the last tournament I did. And I had 191 fishermen from across the United States from 38 different states. They registered 511 bass over the tournament. And right here, this guy with an Excel spreadsheet, and it was all linked. It's a linked tournament. They send their pictures in with their participant code, no problem. 6-week tournament. It can be done, and you don't need the technology to do the work for you. It'd be nice to have the technology to do the work for you. It does exist. And it's just a matter if you want to invest in the technology to do it. And it would open the field greatly if they would, broaden their scope a little bit to get more fishermen in. And take down it. The other side of this, let's think of it from a corporate perspective. That technology would bring the overall cost way down from the people on the boat to the cameraman. There's all different things they could do to bring that cost down. I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a bunch of corporate BS at this point.
Why? I guess from your perspective and your background, why are they doing this? I is it just like a corporation, like so many nowadays in America, they're just making mistakes. They're not reading the pulse of where they should be going.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, Thomas. The other thing, I just fished a big tournament down in Lake Eufaula, Alabama, a physical B there tournament, and there were over 500 boats on Lake Eufaula, Alabama that weekend. And that was just the prep for the weekend to come, because the ABA had a huge regional championship tournament coming the following weekend. And when I got back to the boat ramp on the second day, they had brought in the 18-wheelers with the Mercury outboard trailers, for the setting up the trailers for the weigh-ins and things of that nature. It brings money to the community, right? So you get people from local people to come in, they sell merch and things of that nature. So there's some aspect of having that physical weigh-in that they still want to have. But there's ways of doing that. They could scale that in a different way to get more advertisement out there, get more of the local population. You still got to be there fishing, right? There's things that they could do to generate more revenue or generate other revenue other than pulling 18-wheelers with trailers and signs and things of that nature. So I think in the future, if they stick to this model, they're going to start to go down, because you and I both know, because we're in the YouTube business, most viewers have a pretty short attention span, right?
They do, and that's what's so crazy is like if you're in business, guys, and then this is like 20 years of of being a self-employed individual condensed. You got to be unique. You got to be your own person. You got what makes you stand out from the crowd. And the fact that MLF is trying not to be unique anymore, that's what doesn't make any sense, because they weren't. And for people I saw in the comment section, they bought FLW. They weren't FLW. That's important. They started out as catch, weigh, release, everything, and you had a core following. And this to me is saying you are no longer targeting your core audience.
Right.
And that doesn't. So example is, again, I think you brought this up with baseball. Baseball is trying to say, what if we did timers for pitchers and stuff? Baseball, since it's been around for like 300 years, is unique because it doesn't have time. It just is. And when it's over, it's over. So the idea of putting a time limit is just makes it's weird. It's too different. It's too much of adjustment. If you don't want to have 9 innings, go to 7. Do that. But the idea of putting like a stopwatch, you're gonna alienate your core fans. Sure. MLF, I feel like they're alienating their core fans to chase bass fans, which I don't know why, again, unless they truly they want to be bass, which I don't think is probably the best move. And the last thing, and I'll give it to you here, is I have been blessed to talk to a lot of people in DNR. And let's be real, catch, weigh, release is way better for our ecosystems than it is taking the fish, putting them in the live well, driving them all over the lake, especially in the summertime.
Yes.
They hit it out of the park with being the first corporate organization to be ahead of the curve and saying, like, we're doing this. And I feel like they're going backwards.
Yeah, they were riding the top of the wave when they started, and now either you can say they've jumped off, in the wash or off on the trough. But I think they've got their eyes focused on: do we want to be BASS? Do we want to be the Bassmasters? They've got to come to grips of what they want to be today, and what they need to be in 3, 5, and 7 years down the road. Because if you're not thinking 3, 5, 7 years down the road as a corporation, you're failing, right? you don't want to try to just beat the people today. It's always nice to try to compete, but your competition should be building to, to succeed down the road. And they did have a good model with the catch weigh release. I think that was a great model. And honestly, the kayak, what they do with the kayak tournaments with the catch measure, and that's what I do on my tournaments, a measure tournament only, is starting to gain a lot of popularity. And somebody's got to jump on there. And I'm just to be, I'm not trying to pump my channel here. I'm just going to be honest. I have, started my own corporation now after our little conversation, and
Congratulations, sir.
I am going to be pushing here. I'm going to push 7 new tournaments free for now, right? Because I got the backing, but I'm looking for the advertisement and sponsorship. If you can get a lot of people, and hey, just with the word of mouth on YouTube, I got 191 people to participate, and it was only for first place. It was $200, and it was for fun. But if you start getting enough people and you start getting enough sponsors, that will grow and that will blossom into something that is unique. And I just don't think BAS or MLF are looking at that. They like their guys out there with their jerseys on, with their advertisers on it, the big boats.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the whole picture. You made a very good point. You can be on rivers. In my tournaments, you can be on the bank, you can be on a river, you can be on a boat. Yeah, anywhere. There's such great water across the United States that they're not fishing. It's always follow Lake Seminole, Lake Castaic, all the same lakes over and over and over. Table Rock, you know the drill.
100%, and I get it, like, because it's where they pay them. There's a reason they go to the St. Lawrence, and it's not just because that's a really good smallmouth fishery. They pay the bill to go there, but they're missing out on so many different lakes. Guys, if you didn't know, Lake Hartwell is one lake on that whole Georgia chain of lakes. There's a shit ton of lakes, pardon my French, on that strain, but they don't go there because they don't pay them, which I completely understand. That's the structure of it, but you're also missing out on these unique niches you could do. And my last example here is that fact that Major League Fishing broke it into 30 boats per day, which allowed them to go to smaller bodies of water. Fantastic. That's a niche market. If you guys want to know from a business standpoint, that's really good. Lake Eufaula, and I did this in college where you'd have 300, 400 boat tournaments. That limits where you can actually go. And that also puts a strain on a fishery. And as Shane said, he's starting his thing. I'm working to create a nonprofit, a lot of paperwork there. And our goal is to just raise money to stock fisheries. Spoiler, it's expensive to do this and to raise money for it. And my point is, with talking with the DNR about this, it's cheaper to husband a lake than it is to stock it. I do see in the next 30 years where slot limits will change. It will get a lot tighter. Yeah. They've talked about after COVID, there's more people fishing bodies of water. It's smart to be ahead of the curve and say we do some kind of catch-weigh release format, because I do think in 30 to 50 years, that's probably is where it's going to be. Yeah,
I'll tell you, my good buddy Gary, I've talked about him before. He's got his own channel, Gary's Fish Tales. He spent 4 or 5 years living in South Korea, where they have bass out there, but it is so heavily pressured, A, and B, they commercial fish in their lakes as well, that the restrictions on catch and release bass is very high. And he was there for 5 years. When he first got there, it was hard to catch fish. When they put the regulations on and changed the limits, the fishing got better and better and better and better, right? So there's some proven models out there, not just in the United States, that's South Korea, because they want to grow that sport fishing out in South Korea as well. There's some, like I said, there's some models out there that proves that we're going to have to change with the more pressure we put on these lakes. We're going to change the slot limits. And you fished a really good lake with me out here on Hunting Run that had a trophy slot limit on it for years and years, until this year they changed it. You could not take a bass out of that lake between 16 and 22 inches. You can take anything 12 and above now. Now we know that the lake is very healthy, but how long is that going to last before we're going to have to bring some type of slot limit back onto that?
Mm-hmm.
And God bless the DNR. People have their own opinion, but it's hard to keep up on all these small bodies of water. With they don't have enough time to do all the shocking surveys they need to do. But I think that if we don't change something, it's going to change our fishing, the quality of our fishing nationwide.
And I really do, guys, feel like I'm blessed because I've been able to spend time actually in a car, in a boat with two individuals that are really high up in the Maryland DNR this past fall. And I got to really ask them questions about this. And they said, one, like you said, they don't have the money to shock every place every year. And two, the slot limit is different for different fish for different reasons. So example is the walleye on Deep Creek, the slot limit is there because people are catching and keeping. And it's very hard for that specific species because of the keeping. Bass, it's not that they're just being taken to be consumed, but they're being driven around in a boat all the time. And that creates its own mortality rate. So I just want to make sure that what you understand when we're talking about, we're not saying that people are keeping bass, generally speaking, and
Right.
eating them. It's the fact that they're riding around in a boat, and that does have a greater effect on their mortality rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas, I said this to you when you were fishing with me. Um, People need to start in hunting run specifically.
Mhm.
People need to start keeping a few.
Yeah.
Because size, there's only so much forage in a lake, right? And I, I'm a guy that'll keep a few every once in a while, but I eat them, right? I enjoy eating fish. I don't keep a lot, but I keep what I can eat from time to time, and that's good for the population. Now, I don't think everybody should keep everything to catch. We all see this on Facebook. If we follow channels, people have stringers of 20 bass. Yeah, that's probably a little over the top, but there needs to be a good, healthy takeaway of fish out of a lake to keep the population in check, because there's only so much forage in a lake that can help the population stay healthy.
And I 100% agree. And I think that's where I think in a perfect world, I think Bass and MLF, reading the tea leaves now, are going to move closer to each other. I think Bass is slowly going to get to the point where they're going to do the Texas Lake format, where they do catch-weigh release except for the big ones. So that way they get to have their weigh-ins with the big fish. But again, I think it's going to be taken out of their hands. I think this gets to this question right here from this individual, JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Sponsors and anglers want the weigh-in formats made. Anglers have more opportunities now than ever for building their own brand awareness via weigh-ins and engagement with their fans. 100%. But I think the state's going to take it out of their hands.
Yeah.
How much pressure can Lake Gunnersville get, or Lake Eufaula, with weigh-ins before there's a breaking point?
Yeah.
Those, if you guys watch Bass Blaster, all those newsletters, you really realize that in Alabama, a lot of these communities build their economy around these lakes. It will happen when there are major fish kills in the future, because again, government only acts in reaction to crisis, where they're going to be like, okay, we need to adjust the slot limits. So you're right. Right now, that's going to be the way it is. But if you're a corporation that looks in the future, you have got to be looking at, this is where the tea leaves are reading, going. I don't know. I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, but the one thing I want to make sure that we get to tonight is talk about your channel and how you got started with your tournament organization.
Yeah, so I started about a year and a half ago. Thomas, thanks for this. I just wanted to get I love bass fishing. I've been bass fishing for years and years. Lived all over the United States. I'm a retired military guy. I should say the United States, fished all over the world. Just wanted an opportunity to share my fishing experience. So I put a lot of fish catching content out, but just talking to folks, and they're like, it'd be nice to be able to have some type of friendly competition. So I decided that off my own dime, I would sponsor a tournament series off my channel virtually for anyone across the United States to participate in. It started out small. The first tournament I had about 23 people. It was a big bass tournament, and I'll tell you, I was off the mark in my big bass tournament because I should have done it regionally. I did it across the United States, starting in April when they're Ice was still in the lakes in the north, etc. But it's grown quite a bit. The next tournament grew to about 100 folks, and like I said, this last one was 200. And you see me flipping on my screen here. It's because I've got comment after comment after comment tonight when I put the final out of please do this again, please do this again. We loved it, we loved it, we loved it. It's just growing in popularity. And honestly, I mean, a guy down in North Carolina, no kidding, on a homemade kayak, fishing at night, fell off his kayak at night, got back on his boat, came on the channel, talked about it on my last live, won this tournament.
That's so cool.
It was so cool, right? And you know, he had never fished a fishing tournament in his life, but he wanted to win. And I had another guy. He didn't win. He didn't place. He didn't get first, second, or third, but he came in fifth. Fished from the bank, and 5 fish caught 87 inches of bass. That's pretty impressive.
That's really impressive.
It's been invigorating for a lot of folks to jump in. I think it has a lot of opportunity. To get a lot of folks in anyone that wants to participate. I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do 7 tournaments next year. I'm working on sponsorship and such to make it not come out of my pocket. But I'm already committed for next year. If I don't get a sponsor or not, I'm committed for at least 7 more tournaments. I think it'll grow even more next year. So. You know, that's a little bit about where we're at. And if you're interested, if you're out there watching this, you know, give me a hook. I'll put all the tournaments out off my YouTube channel, Shane Flynn Outdoors. And
guys, when I re-upload this for a podcast, maybe if you guys want me, let me know in the chat if you want me to actually upload this as a podcast episode too. This is more of just an emotional struggle session for me. But when I re-upload this on YouTube, I'm going to put a link to Shane's information too. So if you want to join his tournament organization next year, you can. The one thing that I don't think we got to talk about at all when I was on your channel, by the way, which was a really cool episode. We talked about Panoptics, about using that at Hunting Run Reservoir specifically. You went to Lake Eufaula. How did that go down? What tournament organization were you a part of where that became reality?
So I was fortunate enough, my good friend Gary from Gary Fishtails, who I mentioned earlier, I went down last December and for a little bit of vacation. He goes, I got a tournament with my local Lunkers Bass Tournament of Northern Florida. Come and fish it with me. You can pay for a one-time event, $20 to join the club, blah, blah, blah. And I went down there and I did pretty well. And I qualified for their end-of-year championship. So that end-of-year championship was there on Lake Eufaula. It was, I will tell you, it was a very tough tournament first. I caught one keeper. It was a 2-day tournament. I caught one fish to weigh in on the first day.
Oh,
one. Okay. And actually, Gary was in first place at the end of day 1. Standing side by side on the boat. Next day did a little bit better, and I ended up in 3rd place overall, and I caught the big bass of the tournament. So I ended up walking away with the biggest purse. But it was a smaller group out of northern Florida, southern Georgia, Alabama. That's where that Lunkers tour is from, and just a great bunch of people. But the 2 things that I learned from that tournament there on Alabama, there's so many boats, so many tournaments going on that lake. They had sprayed for weeds to kill out, but kill out the vegetation. They do it every 3 to 5 years on that lake. They had done it 2 weeks prior. Fish were just driven down. And by the way, the winning weight was 8 pounds, 7 ounces.
Holy God. Wow.
So you hear on a 2-day tournament, 52 and 55 pounds. It was really low. My weight was right at 7. I lost by less than a pound, or I was out of first place for less than a pound. Come to find out after I reviewed the footage, spots are a 12-inch limit versus regular bass. I threw a 12-inch bass over the bank.
Those suckers are sometimes hard to distinguish between, by the way, when you got both in the ecosystem.
Yeah. So, my fault. I should have known better, but it was a good tournament. I learned a lot going down to Lake Eufaula. That was my first time there, by the way. Great fishery. Just so much going on that lake from a week on every weekend though, from a tournament's perspective.
What 2 things did you learn going to that big body of water?
First is the things that you learn and know about a small body of water still apply to a large body of water.
Good
And
one.
yeah, what we were struggling with is we were looking for deep this and that, and at the end of the day, I told Gary, I was like, dude, I need to find vegetation. I need to find where's the wind blowing to. The same things I do here on my lakes in Virginia applied there, and that's why we were successful in that tournament.
Sounds like he's fished Mooney a little bit.
Yeah.
Sir, I mean, yeah, thank you. So, oh, wait, we got 2 questions here. Hold on. Wow, this popped up. Ashley Higgins wants to know, how much is your entry fee for your tournaments? I'm 100% interested.
0. It
There
is
you go.
free to enter my tournaments.
I can even afford that right now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So then, do you have a cutoff for how many people can enter your tournaments? So examples like BFLs have like a limit. Okay.
Nope. If you want to participate, it's easy to register. Send me an email at Shane Flynn Outdoors. When I'll send this out to everybody. All you do is send me an email. I send you an email back confirming you're in the tournament. A couple days prior, I send you the instructions for the tournament, all the rules, how to measure your fish with an example photo, and I give you a participant code. It's that simple.
What is the furthest west anglers do you have that participate? Like generally, what is the geography of everyone?
I got a lot of people in California this last tournament. Probably
Really?
30 anglers out of California. I got a lot. Like
How?
I said,
That's so
30
cool.
states, Thomas, in this last tournament.
Dang.
Yeah, it was crazy. I did not expect anyone from Utah or Colorado, but I had Utah and Colorado anglers from the West, just all over Minnesota, Michigan, New York. Had one angler from Maine, so it was all over. It really is starting to catch hold.
All right, you have the niche dialed in. You really do. And guys, again, link will be in the episode description for the re-upload to everything for Shane Flynn Outdoors for his tournament series. Again, he figured out a niche and he's staying in his niche. And if you're a business, you need to do that. And it kind of gets back to this whole topic with MLF and stuff. Is like, I don't understand what they're doing, but you have to stay in where you think you can make the money that no one else is in. And I think what you're doing with the bank fishermen, with kayak fishermen, it's available. The technology is there, and the world is yours right now.
Yep. And maybe one of these big companies will catch hold. We'll see. But until then, I'm going to run hard, fast, and try to do great things for anglers across the United States.
Sir, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on such short notice. Again, guys, link in the episode description to all of his information. Shane, I'll talk to you later. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Bye.
That is Shane Flint Outdoors. Always good dude. He is an awesome individual. Really need to follow his channel. He's really, really cool. He runs a great organization. He's down there. He's got a pimped out John boat, by the way. It's really awesome. We got to fish out of it this year. Let's see. And does Texas, Cal, and Florida have their own regions? Do they compete with everyone else? Ashley, I'm so sorry. I just hung up on him, so I can't answer that question, but I will text him tonight and I will find that out for you. I'm going to answer everyone else's questions here, and then we're going to get done here. Let's go with Ashley again. Black Bass Advisory Commission. When I talk to them, Scott, MLF Tour will have no Northeast anglers in 2023. New Jersey is the furthest north along the coast for any angler. At least Virginia still has yeah. That is very true. That is a very good observation. Let's see. Sponsors and anglers want the weigh-in format, mate. Anglers have more opportunities now than ever for building their own brand awareness via weigh-ins and engagement with their fans. If sponsors and anglers want the weigh-in format, why is kayak fishing getting so big? There are no weigh-ins. And a lot of the companies sponsoring bass are also sponsoring kayaks. And if they just wanted the weigh-ins, why would corporations be putting money into kayaking? because they see a market and they see a way to actually enhance their brand awareness because more people are doing it. So if more people are doing kayaking and kayaking is growing faster than bass, explain that. And you're also, Scott's also, guys, everyone is willing to come on the show. If you'd like to come on the show, please message me at fishingthedmv@gmail.com. That is fishingthedmv@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on the show, a live stream or a podcast episode, feel free. Just, I'll put, I'm going to put it in here. Put it right here. Fishing the DMV at email me if you would like, I can spell like, to be on the show. Boom. I just messaged you real quick. Boom. Everyone. Perfect. So if you'd like to be on the show, please email me at fishingthedmv@gmail.com. I'll get you on the show. I'd love to hear everyone's opinion. Again, if you would be on a podcast episode, do not worry. I'm not going to like lowball you. I'm going to let you guys speak your opinion. I really want to genuinely have you on there to have a good conversation. And we'll have the conversation as long as you'd like to have the conversation because I want to hear everyone's point of view. That's the point of doing this. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. Oh, my main sponsors. So, because we were looking for sponsors for 2023 because we are basically we own the market, but we are the fastest growing outdoor fishing podcast show in the greater DMV metropolitan area. We have more watch time than God. We have shirts. Right now, we have this really cool design of the Shenandoah River. We are only going to do 70 shirts. We only have 70 shirts, and once they're gone, they're done. We will not make any more, and then we're going to create a new design. This is first generation batch 1 with the Fishing the DMV logo down the side and the Shenandoah River. We are going to do very unique fisheries for shirts, mugs going forward for generation 2 and 3, by the way. So stay tuned for that. But for generation 1, we have this long sleeve fishing shirt in multiple colors, but we only have 70 total. And once they're gone, they are gone and you'll never see these again. So just to let you know, you can get these at Jake's Bait and Tackle. Just type in Jake's Bait and Tackle right there. You click on the website, you can go get them. Again, we are only doing 70. Once they're gone, they are gone. And then we're going to come out with a new brand or a new art style in February of 2023. But again, 70 of those and they're gone. Please like and subscribe to the channel, guys. I really appreciate you guys all watching this long. I'm sorry that this was such a long rant. Sorry if it was like not fun, but I really enjoyed you guys. I missed everyone. I really missed being able to talk to everyone. Ashley, huge shout out to Ashley Higgins being back on the show. Miss having you on the show. Really appreciate you being here. Scott, you're a very, very fantastic asset to the show. I really appreciate you being on here. Chris Sherwood, thank you so much for being on here. Hopefully I didn't get you in trouble with your wife. Joshua Gray, thank you so much for communicating and being on here. Communicating is a really dumb word. Why would I say communicating? Thank you for being involved in the chat. Shane Flynn for coming on the show. Shane Flynn Outdoors, I really appreciate it. Rusty Lane, thank you again so much for really communicating with me, your opinions, stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Keith Poche is really important. And Joshua Gray, thank you guys for everyone that was on the show. Again, please like and subscribe to the channel. Fishing the DMV, we are the number one. Not only are we the number one, we are the only fishing and outdoor podcast in the greater DC metropolitan area, and we are the fastest growing. We'll see you next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye.